I think we have the most amazing audience in the world. Whatever topic that comes up, there is someone who is an expert in that field that feeds us with information. For instance, I was just talking about the Albany County situation, the woman ending up in jail, and this is I don't want to say what position this person holds, judge, maybe clerk, maybe attorney.
Okay.
But this person says someone selected the wrong party when they generated the warrant. Easy to do. She'll be able to sue for false arrest and damages.
I understand it's 3 days isn't 10 years. You see these cases where someone's wrongfully convicted and incarcerated for 10, 20 years.
Yeah, right. This
3
is 3
days
days still.
But
and it goes on to say, and the mistake also got by the judge that signed the warrant. Got to check your work.
Yeah.
We mentioned New York Mets. What happens? Someone expert like Richard pipes in.
Sure.
Who knows everything, right? I mentioned John Swan was coming in. I got somebody here saying, didn't he used to work at WUTR? Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
It's true.
Experts all over the place.
But never in radio, though. I don't ever.
No. He was never on IBX.
Actually, how long were you here?
12 years.
Wow.
Yeah. It was before you were born, though, so it was a long time ago.
In studio is Jennifer Waters from Mohawk Valley Edge and John Swan. Guys, good morning. So tell us about, so we're really getting together, coming up with a solid plan, but also using experts in the field. Is that correct?
That's a true statement.
All right.
Well, we don't need to reiterate, I will, for 10 seconds, about how many amazing things have been happening in this area. The last several years have seen more amazing things happen in terms of economic redevelopment and rebirth in the last several decades.
Hold on, I don't mean to interrupt. Sure. Jim Brock writing in, these experts don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
How come he's not involved? What are you thinking?
So as I was saying, we don't need to reiterate all of the good things that have been happening.
That is true.
But it is worth pointing out that a lot of people have said, these things are all happening, but they seem to all be happening not in isolation, but perhaps in isolation from each other. Like, how do they all fit together? Mm-hmm. What about the spaces between and among all of the developments in downtown Utica?
So let's talk about some of that. You have development going on, and we're not even including stuff like the Irish Cultural Center that's being built down on Varick Street, sure, and the progress that has happened down there. But you have the arterial. Yep. You have this new Oriskany Street project, the roundabout that's going in, the huge changes at the auditorium, Nexus Center, right, the hospital.
Private development.
All the mixed-use lofts.
Yep.
That's really big. There's more. There
Downtown grocers.
A lot going on right now.
So what is being announced now with a little hoopla, just so in the interest of full disclosure everyone is aware of it, is not the answer that the experts are going to impose on everyone, but in fact a tool that cities in growing economies use all of the time. Yeah. And it's essentially a vision for the next 10 to 20 years, which is flexible, which will change over time, and out of which will come action items and specific projects. And if you look at, and I sent you guys a map, I know it's radio, but an example of what the architectural firm has done already, even though they're not done, and that is a view of the downtown core divided by districts of, shall we say, interest and concentrated effort, everything from entertainment districts to the brewery district to Bag Square and so on and so on. And in those districts are things, some of which already exist, some of which you've named, some things that have not yet been envisioned but could happen, and there may be a few things in there that won't happen at all, and some things as yet unforeseen.
How far do you go around? What's your big, do you include Harbor Point? Do you include, okay.
Harbor Point to Oneida Square, the Arts District, Brewery District on the west, and what Mayor Palmieri is fond of calling a burgeoning Bleecker Street International Corridor on that side.
That has been the area that's been left alone all these years that has so much history, Bleecker Street.
And new and interesting developments, too, from Asian grocers and restaurants to now the Refugee Center actually anchoring the beginning of that corridor on that end of Bleecker.
So, Jennifer, I'll ask you, what's the vision looking like, or are we too early in the stage at this point?
I think that Utica is really interesting because Utica has become a brand.
Yeah.
You see all these companies popping up, Utica Bread, Utica Coffee, Utica Pizza Co. People are getting really excited to use Utica in their branding and marketing. And so I think that that's also really interesting in terms of the vision, because people are becoming really proud to live in Utica and be a part of the revitalization. So I don't think the vision is anywhere near close to being done, and I don't think it'll ever be done. But what this does is it provides a roadmap for future state funding, for people coming in, private and public, dollars to come in and have an idea that I'm investing in something that has a long-term thought process attached to it by stakeholders. Everyone's already on board with it. Everyone's already really excited about it. It gives them a peace of mind that I'm investing in something worth investing in.
Have we learned from the 1960s? Because we all know the story. I mean, every community has, in urban renewal, they tore down these beautiful buildings and put up this new vision of what the modern communities were going to look like. And now we're tearing that down because it just destroyed the looks of these towns. Have we learned from that?
Yeah, so I think what this vision plan does is it's not really calling for any of those types of uses or investments like that, but it's more thinking that, okay, we have all the investments going on with the mixed-use lofts in Bag Square. How is that connecting with the rest of the city? Is it by a sidewalk? Do we need more pedestrian infrastructure? How is that pedestrian infrastructure going to look? Is there sidewalks? Is there benches? Is there green space? Is there places for people to walk their dogs? Because there's 2 mixed-use housing units, but neither one of them have contemplated green space or enough parking. So looking at these issues on a global scale allows us to address adequate green space, parking. Do we have enough bike racks? Do we have enough benches? Different things like that when you take these projects individually may not make sense, but as you think about it as a whole, it really starts to work.
John,
and genuine historical assets are preserved as part of this, and they are assets. Now, genuine historical assets. If you look at other cities, look at Manhattan. Manhattan is not a museum that has been preserved since its founding, right? And so there are important historical buildings and treasures here that should have been saved, preserved. Old City Hall was one, and people recall, and also the Vice President Sherman's house on Genesee Street. But every single building that is old, by whatever definition, cannot be preserved forever. This plan takes account of historical assets as a distinct portion of the things that make Utica really unique in the downtown.
I think the courthouse, the city courthouse, is a good example. That building,
it's old.
Is I'm talking about the one down by the police station.
It's old.
It's old looking.
Yeah.
It looks like it was built. Yeah. It looks like it has history to it, yet it's a new construction.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the city police station.
Well, that's old.
Yeah,
we know that's old.
That's an example of it's old. There are issues with it. You know, they've talked about 30 years a way to address that. So,
but I think when we've talked about building the hospital, when you talk about there is consideration for creating a structure that looks like it fits,
integrates.
It integrates with the design that with the old buildings. It fits. It doesn't stick out like a sore thumb.
I think the thing with this plan is not only does it account for planned developments that are about to happen, like the hospital, but also other things that are in the out years, 10 to 20 years down the road, that some of us sitting around now can't even envision, and that's why it is both a vision and an action plan. It's also worth noting that when you look at the partners who are involved in this, it's the city, because obviously it is the city. The county is a real stakeholder in the city, which not many people think about. The city is the largest urban area in the county, but the county is also a property owner, a major employer, and an investor in downtown. The Chamber of Commerce, representing business interests, our friends at EDGE, because they have both economic development and urban planning expertise locally, and Genesis, because they spread the word about good things happening.
So I've got to ask on the point about making the new buildings match what already exists, especially in that area where the hospital is going to be. If you look at the transformation, not only inside the Aud, but outside at the Adirondack Bank Center, that doesn't look like a building from the 60s. You know, the Nexus Center is not going to look like something old. I'm trying to think, all the loft development that's gone on, there's been a lot of construction in those buildings. a lot of those are made to look new and shiny. So I guess there's got to be a balance there.
Yeah.
But you don't want it to look too old because there is a lot of new stuff in downtown. I guess that was just an observation. The other thing is what you're describing kind of sounds like a little bit, I don't want to strike a chord with anybody, a blueprint, which Utica taxpayers paid for several years ago. How does the Utica blueprint, am I saying it wrong? The blueprint?
Well, not blueprint, but you're talking about a
master plan.
The
Excuse
master
me,
plan,
the
which
master
was
plan.
like $350,000 at that time.
Yeah, how does that fit into?
And I will defer to Jen, but I'll just say briefly because she has more expertise in this area. But a master plan is about specific land use. And this is a vision plan, which is much broader, much more flexible, does not dictate land use, does not say this is what you're going to do. It's more of a this is what could happen.
Okay.
That's kind of what the master plan has been, too, by the way, because
At least the one the city has.
half, three-quarters of the stuff in that master plan never really came to fruition. You want to comment on that, Jennifer?
Yeah, so when we were creating the foundation for this plan, we took all the existing plans that are in place, the Bag Square plan, the Varick Street plan, the Rust to Green plan, the master plan, the zoning code updates, and those were all contemplated in this vision plan. So it's taking all those pieces, putting them together, finding out what makes sense going forward. And those plans are all great plans on their own, but each one is kind of for a different piece of the city, or the master plan may address land use, but it doesn't address how do we connect one neighborhood to the other.
Yeah.
What type of infrastructure do we need for that?
And one of the, I think, critical elements of this, and is I think maybe a wise decision, is bringing in NBBJ, because the way that they actually designed, and I remember from the press conference of the unveiling of the exterior of the hospital, they utilized existing buildings in their design for the style and architecture of how the building would actually look. So I think by bringing them in, that will be critical to try to blend the new look with the classic architecture that Utica's been used to. So I think that element is important, too, by bringing in that design.
All right. Tony Pacini is on, Oneida County Executive Tony Pacini. Standing by on the line, wants to pipe in on all of this. What are your thoughts from yesterday, Anthony?
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I just came on because I wanted to hear John Swan on the radio again.
Yeah. He's back. He's back.
He's back. Huh?
Yes.
He's back. Well, they touched on, Jen and John have touched on so many key points and why it's so important. And I think, though, that we're at a point, because of the hospital project, because of Nexus, because of the road work, because of all of the things that we're doing and collectively with the city and others, the infrastructure improvements to the entire water, sewer systems, all of those are relevant here. And so it's a perfect time to outline what is this city and what is this community going to look like. And I keep talking about the ripple effect because, and John said it, I heard at the beginning about Utica and our investment in Utica. It's the county seat, it's the government center, and being the largest city, it has an impact on the entire community and the entire county. And the outlining of this plan, if you will, and how it gets shaped and how it gets designed and what it looks like for the next 30, 40, 50, long after we're all gone, is really, it should be something that people embrace and look at as, okay, we're taking the right steps here, because what I don't want to see, and I may not, whether it's 30 or 40 years from now, is that we put a hospital when nothing else happened. We put Nexus and nothing else happened. We did work on the harbor and nothing else happened. So I think that when you tie all of these things together and everything that is happening and then the growth that's taken place, it's a perfect time to do this. It's the right time, but also it's really the plan of, and it grows from within. Let the stakeholders be involved.
Yeah.
And it's not our plan. It's going to ultimately be the people that live downtown now, the people in the lofts, the businesses that are coming there, the people that work there, the people that visit there. I mean, everybody's going to have an input in this, and the whole design is going to really, make a mark on a city and on a region that can be vibrant again, and is vibrant again.
I want to. Anybody want to comment on that? I think it was well said, and that's the idea is to make sure that we're planning for long term as opposed to just. So with that, I want to break, and when we come back, I want you to answer this. Harbor Point is a good example because the vision on Harbor Point, I've seen the pictures. It looks really like it's going to be awesome. But you're not going to be able to see it anymore because we just put a whole bunch of hotels, and it seems like, maybe I'm wrong, I don't mean to be critical, but it seems like we just did whatever came along. We got Snickerdoodles or whatever the name of that place was. We're going to put that in there. There's a hotel. Let's put up another hotel. You can't see anything from Genesee Street anymore. If there's going to be water over there, you're not going to be able to see it. So what is the vision of Harbor Point? And is this an example of taking whatever you can get and not having a plan? Think about that, and I'll come back and talk about it. And what is the plan for Harbor Point? We'll come back and talk about it. 7:32. I do have a free money question I'm going to squeeze in. So coffee break time. You can get something to drink. Get your answer prepared. I'm curious to hear your response to that. Anthony Pacini stand by as well.